why are Gen Z white guys awakening so much? Why is Patriot Front getting so much steam? Why is your average white guy, they have beliefs that
they're not. Gen Z, and like, I hate this fucking idea. I have to like argue with it all the fucking time because these guys just cannot understand statistics at all. They are, I think they are actually incapable. They're willfully ignorant. Okay, Gen Z men are not more conservative. They're actually more woke. Okay, but Gen Z women are a lot more woke. Okay, significantly, in fact. So what that means is our generation, the Zoomers, okay, we have the biggest gender divide. Okay, we are highly polarized in terms of gender. Women are more woke, men are slightly less so. But as a whole, Gen Z is extremely woke-tarded, and the men are no exception. Okay, we're woke too, Jimmy. It's just you and the Groypers, you weird little fucking troglodytes in your mom's basement. Now we're gonna react to an interesting little video by Jimmy Talks. Okay, now I've been reacting to Jimmy Talks for a long time. But for some reason, and I'm not going to spend too long covering this. Okay, this video is like 25 minutes, but I'm gonna pull up my creator dashboard here. People have been going crazy about my Jimmy Talks videos. I mean, they can't get enough of it. Let's see here. So, my latest Jimmy Talks video, has Jimmy Talks gone woke, has 464 views and quite a high AVD. All things considered, for a video with this many views. 8.4% AVD, not bad, not too shabby, okay? But what I wanted to see here is, what is the, average? Okay, so wow, so almost 30% are still watching past the minute and 30-second mark. That's pretty good, dude. I like that. And then there's a brief spike, for some reason, around 12 minutes in. I don't know why that is, but... Anyway, basically, and that's not the only Jimmy Talks video either that has, done some numbers. I had one a couple weeks ago that did pretty well. So, anyway, the Jimmy Talks train, it keeps rolling. Okay? Choo choo, let's go.
Jimmy Talks.
What up, Jimmy?
I just upgraded my mic, and it sounds way better. I actually had to just go out and do it. I don't know why I put it off for so long.
Not bad.
Probably because I'm a cheap bastard, But anyways, Patriot Front. People have been asking me, like, what do you think about Patriot Front? I don't really mind them.
Yeah, honestly, man, I like the mic. Okay, I like the change. That's nice.
I think street activism
be good for you.
It's the most visible form of political engagement.
And honestly, it makes listening to you like a little bit like more pleasant. Honestly, like now I can hear you say racist shit in crystal clear audio. Amazing. But unfortunately, you don't sound as much like Ben Shapiro anymore. That's a little bit of a drawback.
Call them feds right away.
Oh, well.
There's pros and cons to street activism and stuff like that, but people, they call them feds, and what is their excuse? What do they say? These guys are feds. You ask them, like, well, why do you think they're feds? It's like, well, because they're not fat. It's like, okay, that's not an actual reason. It's like, they're all in shape. They must all be feds. It's like, that's not actually a reason, though. Okay, well, why else do you think they're...
Huh? Wait, you think the Patriot Front, they're all in shape? Have we been looking at the same videos, dog? Dude, they are not all in shape. That's great. I mean... They do wear, like, flattering clothes, I'll be honest, okay? One thing that I will say about Patriot Front, I'm not saying that they dress good or, like, they have style or anything like that, but they do wear, like, very basic clothes that kind of just look good on most people, okay? One thing I will say is that the colors, like, the color blocking is total garbage, okay? Sucks. Like, not appealing to look. Like, it's one thing for it to be a uniform, okay? Like, everybody's wearing the same thing, right? I get it. It's like this, it creates this, like, scale, right? Like, look at how many of us there are, okay? But if I saw, like, a regular person on the street wearing Patriot Front and like I didn't have the racist association with it, then I would say that it looks like shit, you know, obviously, because it's this navy shirt with khaki pants, right? A navy polo with khaki pants and a hat, okay, and they also have the gator mask, okay, but like, you know, whatever. You know, it's my point is like these clothes, right? A dark shirt and light pants. That is a combo that like it broadens your physique. You know, it makes your shoulders look a bit wider, makes your legs look a little bit longer, right? They tuck in their shirt too. That makes your legs look longer. Okay, it's, you know, it's a flattering look. But yeah, I mean, they're like obviously all fat chuds for the most part. I mean, they're either fat and chud-like, or they're like scrawny and short. So it's either you're chud or you're a manlet. Okay, or maybe you're something in between. Maybe you're a man chud.
Fed then. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Let me
But
just
that's it.
at least hear you out, right? And it'll be like they wear a mask. Well, everybody gets doxxed nowadays. Of course they wear a mask. It's to protect themselves. But what are they doing?
Oh, it's to protect themselves. Right,
You know,
right.
That's another reason. What are they doing? That makes
Yeah,
you think
man.
that they're fed. Well, they walk around and they walk in the street with a flag. Like, okay, so none of this actually really points to me that this is a federal group. Now, with that being said,
Why do they need to protect themselves, Jimmy? Why is that? Why? What are they doing? That's such a big problem. I don't know. Like, I'm on the internet right now. I show my face, right? Because I'm not a fucking little pussy ass bitch like you are, right? Hiding behind your computer screen. Oh, I'm Jimmy Talks. Oh, I don't want anyone to see my face. You know, I don't give a fuck. Here I am.
every
Try to
single
find me.
group, every single political group, there is feds.
I'll
in every
pull
single
out my
group.
magic
It doesn't mean the
stick.
whole entire group is.
Blow,
It
blow.
could be something as simple as they're just monitoring them or something like that, which is normal. Every single country does that, right? There are real examples of infiltrated Fed groups, and if a Fed were to join a group, let's just say, they'll normally
Dude, of course there are feds in the Patriot Front. Are you stupid? Yes, there are feds in the Patriot Front. Okay, yes, there are feds in every racist faction in the United States. Obviously, they got to keep their dogs in check. Okay, of course. There are feds in the Klan. There are feds in neo-Nazi groups, including Patriot Front, which is a
really
neo-Nazi
try to do
group.
something to convince you. You know, we need to
Alright.
convince people to do violence. We need to convince them to do something that we can basically arrest them for. That's what feds actually do when they join a group. They try to get them all arrested so they can shut the group down.
No. No. That's incorrect. You're wrong. Okay. Here's how it works. Okay, Jimmy. I'm about to explain something to you. I was a criminal justice major. Okay, not to brag. Okay, I was. That's right. I went to college. Okay, but you don't have to go to school to understand what police do, what their objectives are when they infiltrate these groups. Okay, here's what police do. Okay, they collect evidence. Okay, and they make arrests and charge people with crimes. Okay, that's what they do. That's their job. Okay, they don't protect and serve. They don't prosecute, of course. Sometimes they play a role in prosecution as witnesses. But for the most part, they collect evidence, they make arrests. Okay, that's it. Monitoring right-wing paramilitias or, fraternal societies, that is a part of collecting evidence, okay? So these groups are known to commit crimes, right? Their goal isn't to arrest everyone in the group. That's stupid, okay? Because in order to arrest someone, they have to commit a crime, Jimmy. Wow, or supposedly. Okay, allegedly. Now, that isn't always the case, but let's be real, let's be so for real, okay, that only happens to black people, okay? Black people are arrested with zero evidence, okay? White people, not so much. Now, the police, what they are doing in these groups is they are trying to see if there are a group of people within that, like a subgroup, a clique, within the faction that is planning some crimes or a particular crime, that's called conspiracy. Okay? Maybe they're planning to destroy public property. Maybe they're like going to try to like attack a government building. I mean, these groups have been known to do that. Maybe they're planning to attack black people or a black church. They have also been known to do that. Okay? This is what the feds look out for. This is what they try to stop. Okay? And there is a grand design to all of this. There's a reason that cops do this. Okay, in particular. Like, I'm a person, I recognize systematic racism. That doesn't mean that police can just, like, let these groups, go around killing black people as they please. Like they used to. Okay, because we live in a different time now, with different standards for now. And that, but it's a much longer conversation, but basically, that shit just wouldn't fly, okay? It just wouldn't work in the current structure of our economy. So anyway,
let's keep going. Patriot Front because they avoid doing illegal shit. In fact, they even went to the Appalachians and they helped all those people out in North Carolina. I think it was North Carolina. It might have been a different state. But anyways, FEMA mostly forgot about them. It turns out that FEMA, which is for natural disasters and support and stuff, they went and spent all their federal budget, all the budget that they were allotted to by the government. It was all spent.
Oh, wow. Wait, why did that? What did they spend the budget
as an emergency, Oh, it's so ridiculous. It was all spent on housing illegals and like migrants, people invading our country. FEMA didn't have enough. They said, we don't have enough money in our budget to go and help these people. So they were pretty much just left to their own devices with the state and like the county and the counties that are surrounded them, I mean. And then Patriot Front, they came in and helped clean the place up and give people water.
Why were they doing that? Why were they doing that? What the fuck is he talking about? Anyway, the reason that FEMA ran out of funds isn't because they spent it on brown people. It's because there have been massive cuts to FEMA. Dumbass. That's why.
And help them fix stuff. That just doesn't really sound like a federal
like pretty much every other government institution.
Let's just be honest here. So
that's supposed to help.
Let me go back to an example of an actual state-infiltrated group. This all started back in the day. This is around the 1960s, the 1970s. It was called COINTELPRO, Counterintelligence Program. That's what COINTEL is short for. What exactly is counterintelligence? I'll tell you that real quick. Basically, what counterintelligence is, it's kind of like a way for the government to manage and contain a group before they get too big. And ultimately, if they want to, they will just totally get rid of some sort of dissident organization if it threatens them, right? So in the context of Patriot Front, counterintelligence, which in like what I mean by that is like the context of the military, right? Counterintelligence for these kind of street activism groups is treating the domestic population as the adversary. Anyways, groups that advocate for the interests of the historic American population, like Patriot Front, they are, of course, they're going to be monitored, right? So they're just watching them. But anyways, let me go back to what I was saying before.
So before I forget, I wanted to clarify something. What he was doing just there, keep in mind that Patriot Front is a far-right extreme group. Okay, they are. And what these people will do is they'll say like, oh, but they did community outreach. Oh, FEMA failed and they picked up the bill. Okay, yeah, you know who else did a lot of community outreach? You already know what I'm about to say. You already know what the fuck I'm about to say. Oh, that's right. It was the National Socialist in Nazi Germany, or in the Weimar Republic, before the Nazis rose to power. That's right. For those of you that don't know, the Nazis, they did a bunch of helping the poor, community outreach in Germany, in the Weimar Republic, to launder their reputation. Now, despite their efforts, the Nazi Party was still incredibly unpopular. But in the end, it didn't fucking matter.
To give examples
okay, let's keep going.
Counterintelligence and state-infiltrated groups from the past. Now, I'm not here to shill for Patriot Front. I'm just examining stuff right now. You know, I'm looking at the past, I'm looking at what they did before, and then I'm looking at Patriot Front now. So this leads me to the conclusion that they're not really a Fed group, right? But anyways, let's look at examples real quick. You know, keep an open mind here. Just, you know, give them the benefit of the doubt, like I do with everybody, like I do with everything. This is how I've really even reached the conclusion of my political beliefs personally. This is why I'm a Christian as well. But anyways, this happened all the way back with the Black Panthers and like the New Left. All the way back then, what they would do is that the feds would go into those groups, whether you like them or not. This is just what they do. I'm trying to explain that. They will infiltrate the group, and then they will try to have them say extreme stuff. Like, let's have some get in there and say some extreme rhetoric, agent, and then they'll be like, okay, you know, like make them commit crimes so we can go and arrest them. This is the same thing that happened at Ruby Ridge. The guy was kind of coerced into committing crimes, and then his whole entire family got shot. Right, with the sawed-off shotgun and stuff like that. Anyways,
yeah, I mean that was just an assassination. That, like, you're trying to frame it like it was his fault. It fucking wasn't. For those of you that don't know, the person that he's talking about was a Black Panther. And the police went into his house in the middle of the night and killed him while he was sleeping, shot him to death. And they shot his entire family to death as well while they were sleeping. Wow. Wow, yeah, that sounds... Yo, that's completely justified. Oh, he was committing thought crimes, don't you know?
Don't
you know, Jay Star?
Now we can justify a crackdown on them. That's really what it is. Let's look at an example here. The kidnapping plot against Gretchen Whitmer in 2020. That whole entire thing, it was like, I think almost every single person involved, there was like 20 people, I think 15 of them were actual agents of the government, or they were like informants and working with them.
Oh, yeah, and by the way, what he's describing here is a real thing that police do, okay? They don't just... You know, what I was describing earlier about how they collect evidence and they make arrests, okay, that's true. It's just that they do a bunch of other shit and he's right about this, to try and get people to do things, basically, police, they want you to commit crimes, right? Because it's their job to find you and to prove it. And because it's their job to do this, they don't want you to just commit crimes. They want you to do it in the most documented way possible. Okay? So that when a police officer goes undercover, when he infiltrates a group, you know, he wants them to commit crimes, but he wants them to document it every step of the way. Okay? He wants them to do it themselves. Okay? They get it on recording, right? They get it in writing, even better. That's the way it works, man.
There was like one or two guys that were in there that actually wanted to do that. You know, this plot wouldn't have really even existed without the feds. It's kind of funny because they made.
Yeah, and some people, this is entrapment. Okay, it is, and I think that all of this shit should just be called entrapment, because it is. Okay, in an ideal society, in a more ideal society, all of this would just be entrapment. Okay, now that doesn't mean I don't want cops in the right-wing groups. Okay, I do. If any group of people needs to have cops inside of it monitoring it, it's these fucking people. Okay, not the goddamn communist and the socialist. What the fuck are they doing? The answer is nothing. Okay, but like, anyway, nothing illegal. Anyway, not anymore. But all that is to say, and really never to begin with, okay? It's always been fucking bullshit, man. And I forgot what my point was. Let's keep going.
There is also some questions to be asked about the Oklahoma City bombing from the 1990s. There is...
Oh, yeah, I got some theories about that one.
In regards to the extent of which federal agencies were aware of or involved in that as well. People don't
he really ain't got shit to say like Timmy McVeigh,
just kind of do these things, you know? I'm honestly not really going to get into the Oklahoma City bombing because I want to focus on Patriot Front right now and just the current status quo.
Okay, well, basically, I'll give you guys the rundown. Okay, Timmy McVeigh bombed the Oklahoma, the building in Oklahoma, Oklahoma City, I mean. And it was like this government building, and it had some files that were like important to the Clintons, and it got bombed mysteriously during the Clinton admin, I believe. And Timmy McVeigh was executed. Okay, and then mysteriously, an FBI agent by the name of Paul Weiskopel, I think. Right? Wait, let me look him up. Let me make sure I got it right. Paul Weiskopel, Tampa special agent. Yeah, there he is. There's my guy. Okay, I can't really see him. This is Timmy McVeigh. Okay, this is the guy. There he is. This guy. That is Timmy McVeigh, bro. I'm not crazy. I swear. This shit's gotta be real, bro. Look, it's uncanny, dude. Exact same hairline. Exact same... Look at this shit. Look at the ears. The ears and the nose, that's what really gets me. Yeah. Anyway. Let's go back.
Not even just them specifically.
Back to this
people are asking
shit.
what I think about Patriot Front. So this is what the video is going to be like. I don't want to sidetrack or anything. Let's look at Patriot Front. That's the right-wing street activist group, okay? Now let's compare them to Antifa. This is the left-wing street activist group. Look how differently they're treated. Does anybody go around calling Antifa feds? No, but are they feds? I would very much so argue that they are. There's no way this anarchist group that wants to overthrow the government is just allowed to destroy things. What would be more accurate for
Okay, no, that's where you're wrong. Okay, because first of all, there are certainly feds in Antifa. Okay, of fucking course there are. It's just that Antifa isn't this unified organization, right? So to say that they're trying to overthrow the government is fucking insanity. It is delusion. Antifa is a reactionary, progressive or slash leftist group that is anti-Nazi. Okay, and they are not nationally unified, as in there is no like national Antifa organization. Okay, they are all separate. They don't communicate with each other because they aren't a single group. They are a reaction to their local group of Nazis. When Nazis march, Antifa shows up. That's what happens.
There's no way this anarchist group that wants to overthrow the government is just allowed to destroy things. What would be more accurate for Antifa to call them is controlled opposition. I see these words thrown around a lot. Fed, controlled opposition, a lot of people...
And Antifa isn't... There is no Antifa ideology. Right? There is nothing unifying them other than they don't like Nazis. That's it.
You know what these words mean? Let me explain them to you real quick before I go on with the double standard of treatment with Patriot Front and Antifa. So, controlled opposition. Let's just look at the word itself. I've been saying this since I first started even doing YouTube, before I even started talking about politics. It's very important to just know what words mean. This is why it drives me insane when the Fed accusations get thrown around to, I mean, dude, I've gotten that myself 10 trillion times. Why? Because I love America. I want my country to be better. Anyways, enough about me. Controlled, meaning it's, you can't really use the word in the definition, but they make sure that they have a handle on it. And then opposition is,
it's because your fans are insane.
They're controlling the thing that they're against. This is kind of like when the regime allows or even actively cultivates dissenting groups to exist. The purpose of controlled opposition is to trap potential dissidents into a box that they can control, and then they manage the limits of that box. They manage what they can say. We got to make sure that they have let's limit the amount of acceptable discourse, and then ensure that the opposition never actually evolves into a genuine threat to the power structure. Okay, so big thing with Antifa. That's why I think Antifa is controlled opposition, and I'll tell you why. Because Antifa perceives themselves as fighting the system. They're all like communists and socialists and other stuff like that, other silly nonsense. They actually function as a radical enforcement wing of the establishment. I have proof of that.
Okay, so you are sort of in the right direction. Okay, you're right. Politically speaking, left-wing groups are controlled opposition in this country. Okay, left-wing groups. It's just that Antifa isn't one of them, because Antifa is not this organized group, dumbass. Think of it like they're a ragtag team that just fucking show up when, Nazis start marching in their city. And they don't like that. Because that's what Antifa is. It's not a fucking militia. That's just idiotic. Okay, anyway, in this country, left-wing politics, okay, liberal politics, are controlled opposition. The Democrats are controlled. And what he is describing here, what controlled opposition is from what I remember he said just now, accurate. Okay, like, yeah, you put them in a box, you control what that box is, what they can say. Okay, that's it. That's exactly what the Democrats are. You just perfectly described the Democrats, and then you called it Antifa.
Look at 2020 when Biden was running for president. Not that, by the way, not that we're all MAGA here or big Trump guys, because we're not. I'm not going to speak for all you guys.
Not anymore.
But me personally, no, I'm not, because he is controlled by a country.
Who'd you vote for? Who'd you vote for, Jimmy? Oh, you're not MAGA? Who'd you vote for in the last election? Tell me. I would be very interested in hearing your answer to that. Yep. Because you know what I think? I think that you probably voted for Donald Trump. I think you probably voted for Orange Man. Am I wrong?
That's across the ocean that I can't really say on YouTube. I hope you guys will forgive me, of course. I do have to tone police myself, right? But anyways, Biden and the administration during the run-up to the 2020 election, they were actually bailing these people out. Why would the government bail out people who were destroying and burning down cities? Doesn't that make you think that that's controlled opposition? But anyways, not even just that. Let's look at Antifa and why I think that they're controlled ops. They have this kind of like brown shirt energy. They use chaos everywhere they go. They terrorize.
It's because they didn't commit any... It's because they arrested a fuck ton of people that they had no evidence. that they committed any crimes. The fuck are
They
you
actually
talking
terrorize
about,
people that
man?
the regime finds inconvenient, like normal white people, right? I mean, that's pretty inconvenient to them. The legal system is really
Like,
reluctant
at
to-
least with someone like Nick Fuentes, like, he did definitely commit crimes, right? And then he did get released. Okay, now, I don't think he's a Fed. I don't think he's controlled. He's certainly not opposition, right? He's not controlled opposition. But, like, dude, you don't just arrest someone and then release them for no fucking reason. And what reason could they possibly have to release BLM activists? The answer is that there wasn't any fucking
actually
evidence,
aggressively prosecute them.
dumbass.
Do you know how you stop Antifa? Do you know how you stop these radical leftist socialists who are destroying our country? You put them in jail. First, you arrest them like a fucking man. You get your hands on them and you throw them around because first of all they're burning buildings down. You know, you need aggressive cops out there. You fucking arrest them. and put them in jail for
They're
a long
burning
time. That's not even
buildings.
just for Antifa.
They
That's just how you
are.
combat and curb crime in general. You don't want people to sell drugs. We'll put them in jail for a really fucking long time. Then that's just how crime works. I don't know. They did that in El Salvador. It's one of the most dangerous countries in the world. Now it's one of the safest countries in the world. So the guy's name is Bukele or something like that. Yeah, that's all they did. They put people in jail for a really fucking long time. So
They put them in concentration camps, is what you meant. Wow.
to commit crime just wasn't
Such
there
a safe
anymore. But
country.
that doesn't happen with Antifa. That's why I think that they're controlled opposition. Let's look at
So
another thing. They're
safe.
kind of just a distraction. That's another thing I think of.
Commit a minor crime, you die. You are tortured to death.
Antifa as.
Yay!
Antifa's obsession with punching
We need
Nazis
that
or
here.
whatever nonsense. It doesn't even have to be against white people or right-wingers or whoever they deem as a Nazi. This keeps their energy, like everybody else's energy, focused on this fringe group that has no actual institutional power, rather than the actual, let's just say, globalist, you know? You all know.
The globalists.
You all know what I'm saying, right? Yeah. Anyways, it keeps them not focused.
He's talking about Jewish people. Yeah, Jimmy, we know what you're saying.
on
Yeah.
them. And the other political elites who are actually responsible for the destruction of the West.
Fucking
They're
freak.
just kind of, again, they're controlled. They're a containment mechanism. Now, again, let me give the benefit of the doubt. We'll go over everything. Like I said, I listen to things. I will hear somebody out. Why would somebody call a patriot front if they're not feds, just outright feds trying to commit crimes? Are they controlled opposition? Well, what would the arguments for them being controlled opposition be? Well, the things that I've seen a lot is that, again, it's the controlled sandbox sort of things because they're highly rigid. They have discipline. They march. They have uniform aesthetics. And they also have a way to march that creates like perfect footage. You know, there's going to be white nationalism footage all over everywhere for like a week. This kind of content is highly profitable for intelligence agencies and the NGOs like the ADL, which I don't.
What? It's highly profitable? What do you mean it's profitable? You think that the intelligence community is turning profit from Sigma Male Patriot Front edits? What the fuck are you smoking, man?
Go ahead
Salvia?
and check that one out. By these groups that monitor hate, these organizations and agencies, it justifies huge government grants and new legislation and even the hiring of more. We need more budget. We have to hire
hold
more
on. I need
intelligence
to hear
march
that again.
creates like perfect footage. You know, there's going to be white nationalism
Perfect
footage
footage.
all over everywhere for like a week. This kind of content
Okay.
is highly profitable for intelligence agencies and the NGOs
How?
like the ADL, which I did a whole entire video on, by the way. Go ahead and check that one out.
Okay, look, the ADL, I have my problems with the ADL too. How is that profitable for them? Like, what the fuck are you talking about, man?
These groups that monitor hate, these organizations and agencies, it justifies huge government grants and new legislation and even the hiring of more. We need more budget. We have to hire more intelligence personnel to monitor all these domestic extremists. It's counterintelligence. This is how this stuff works. And again, let me just clarify. I am looking at
Yeah,
this
no,
purely-
the money's coming in either way. Yeah, the fuck are you talking about? We live in the United States of Israel, dog. The fuck? What? Oh, they, like, he's getting sorta close to the truth here, okay? Like, these organizations, they do benefit from right-wing nationalism, from nationalist movements and like fucking Nazi people marching in the streets. Nazi fucking animals, I should say. But it's not making them any money. Dumbass. It's not making them like direct money through like donations. Are you fucking brain dead? What is your evidence of this? Now, the reason it benefits them is a little more abstract. Okay? And it also isn't working as well as it used to. It isn't hitting anymore. But it used to be that these Israel defending groups could point at genuine anti-Semitism, and they would be like, see, Jews are under attack. 30 billion to Israel,
just from a non-biased
please.
standpoint. Well, I guess everything has a little bit of bias in it. But anyways, let's look at another reason somebody else could say that Patriot Front is controlled opposition. They could say it's a honeypot. You know, you could say, hey, this group, we're going to make sure the people who join them, let's identify them all as the most radicalized, committed people in the country. You know, so let's allow this group to exist, and then we can easily watch who joins and record their identities and keep them in a database of, like, air quote, targets for future legal or future social consequences, something like that. You could make that argument as well. But what I suppose I dislike the most about people calling them feds is because it kind of just delegitimizes what a lot of people are actually thinking. Let me give an example here. The media, and that's not just the big media like CNN, Fox, and all that stuff. Alternative media is really big nowadays because nobody trusts the actual, you know, what's called legacy media, the news stations. Nobody trusts them anymore. So I'm including them when I say the media. But anyways, the media will call them feds or a terrorist or a honeypot or something like that. It's meant to signal to the general public that this group they're just beyond the pale. You know, they're making sure that no mainstream conservative or normies or nationalist will even offer them sympathy, you know, let alone support. That's one of the reasons I think that's what really gets me, is just delegitimizing them. It's like, well, actually, a lot of people do actually agree with what they say.
Well, they are illegitimate, and for now, and hopefully it stays that way, right? But what you're describing is true, and this is because of something kind of interesting that I have a theory about this, and you know, historically, I'm I'm probably definitely right. Okay, I'm noticing. Okay, basically, conservative elites, they believe that these extremists can be controlled. Okay, and they are naive to think that, right? But they don't really care at the end of the day, as long as it doesn't affect them. Okay, but still, they are naive because it doesn't affect them until it does. Okay, if you don't believe me, look no further than the rise of the Nazis. Okay, the big dogs in fascism. Okay, in historical fascism, the Nazis rose to power, and how did they do this? Well, basically, Hitler got lucky and was opportunistic, and he got a deal that he could not turn away from a rich guy named von Papen. And von Papen, he gave him the deal because he thought he could control him. And then what did Hitler do? He fucking assassinated all of his friends almost immediately, and then took over the government and became a dictator. Wow. So anyway,
what they stand for, what they're marching for, and the stuff, you know, stuff like that. Ironically, as well, by loudly labeling
because these people and conservative elites will always forget this. Okay, but these people, these Patriot Front people too, they will not play by the rules. Okay, they won't ever. They will do what they have to do. If you give them the opportunity, they will take it every fucking time. You can't give it to them. You can't.
As a Fed operation. I don't know why I almost said that's not even a word. But labeling them as sort of like a Fed op, the public actually kind of assists in this counterintelligence effort.
And they will immediately turn around and kill you.
Any young man that's interested in organizing, which isn't even
if that wasn't obvious.
I think the more ideal way would be decentralized groups, like something that's local. But anyways, it kind of ensures that any young white patriotic man who is interested in organizing, they just see a movement or this movement or Patriot or any group not as a viable path for change, but really it's just like this dangerous state-controlled minefield to be avoided at all costs. So I think that's what really gets me. On the other hand, you know, I don't think people should just not do anything. You know, like street activism, it has its uses, but at the same time, it can be a bad thing. It is kind of high risk. This is why I think decentralized groups of local ones that aren't really big, but there's a ton of them. That's why I think it's better. Well, what do I mean by that exactly? You can have a big group like Patriot Front. They're just going to be monitored. And what are the chances you get arrested, even if it's wrongfully? We already seen these guys. They got arrested. I don't remember when, but it was somewhat recently. They had all their masks pulled off, and the body cam footage showed all their names and stuff. It's just like, and it wasn't. They let them all go. As far as I know, they let them all go. They didn't do anything wrong. But it's like you can get doxxed still, even with the mask and all that. You can get wrongfully arrested or even just questioned, something like that. And it's just kind of high risk. You know, I guess that's something you're just gonna have to deal with if you want to make change. But it is something that you need to be aware of. If you
when does this happen? When does this fucking happen, man? Like, I literally don't know what the fuck you're talking about. They're gonna arrest you. Why? For what? What have you done? You marched with a bunch of other Nazis? That's not a crime. Nobody gets fucking arrested for that shit. What in the goddamn are you talking about? The only time you get arrested for marching with like-minded individuals is if you're black.
If you're going to organize with people
obviously.
Near you, it's, you know, like working out together, we hang out together, we go over books together, we try to make each other better, stuff like that. I think it's better if you do that stuff locally with people that you know. That would kind of counter what I just said, the risk, I mean. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on Patriot Front. But real quick, before I even end this video, why are Gen Z white guys awakening so much? Why is Patriot Front getting so much steam? Why is your average white guy, they have beliefs that
They're
wouldn't-
not. Gen Z, and like, I hate this fucking idea. I have to like argue with it all the fucking time because these guys just cannot understand statistics at all. They are, I think they are actually incapable. They're willfully ignorant. Okay, Gen Z men are not more conservative. They're actually more woke. Okay, but Gen Z women are a lot more woke. Okay, significantly, in fact. So what that means is our generation, the Zoomers, okay, we have the biggest gender divide. Okay, we are highly polarized in terms of gender. Women are more woke, men are slightly less so. But as a whole, Gen Z is extremely woke-tarded, and the men are no exception. Okay, we're woke too, Jimmy. It's just you and the Groypers, you weird little fucking troglodytes in your mom's
because
basement.
they're afraid of the social consequences, which is totally understandable. I get that. You know, why is there so much steam? It was not even just Zoomers, but specifically Gen Z.
So much
most of them
steam.
are right wing, whether they'll admit it or not. You know, well, this generation
With
was
the
promised a stable country and a
Zoomers.
prosperous future, just like their parents had before them. Even millennials. You know, millennials kind of in the same shit sandwich that we are.
man.
Right. Gen X boomers, they kind of had just a different life. They just kind of had a different experience with almost everything. Like, go talk to your average boomer. They'll be like, I bought my house in the 80s for, I don't know, let's just say 50 grand. And both of the parents were making like 20,000.
Yeah, I mean, even faillennials had a pretty good time growing up, right? I didn't have a fucking good time growing up. I don't think any other Zoomer did either. Because we all went through the same shit. There was the recession when we were like 2 seconds old. And after that, for a lot of us, if not a majority, it was just constant food insecurity, moving around, getting evicted, right? Not understanding what's going on because you're a child.
or something like that a year.
It's crazy.
Okay, your house, you could pay your house off theoretically in like 5 or 6 years, so the interest rates were high, but it wasn't so unattainable. People can't even really buy a house nowadays. It's like 10 times what they make in a year. It wasn't 2 times or 3 times more. It's like 10, 20, 30 times more. It's really difficult for the average person to buy a house. It's like, okay, well, actually, you can buy one. Just go buy a cheap one and fix it up. It's like, okay, well, now you live in the middle of nowhere. There's not even any jobs near you. The closest one would be 2 hours away. That's just not really a reality that a lot of boomers had, and that's kind of the reality that Zoomers have. It doesn't even matter what race you are. That's just what they all had, but that's part of the reason why they're being so radicalized. You know, as well as this, the survival instincts kicking in. Young white men are noticing that every other group has an ethnic consciousness, you know, like black power, black pride. Nothing wrong with that. Any group should be allowed to say they have pride in themselves, actually, you know, but it's demonized for white men. It's demonized for white people. You know, they're seeing this diversity being used as a weapon to strip them of their rightful inheritance. They are entitled to an inheritance that their forefathers made for them in this country. There's nothing wrong with saying that either. It's absolutely ridiculous that you say you're not entitled to anything. It's like, I actually am. I'm entitled to live in a normal state.
Okay, but white people didn't build this country. Enslaved black people did. Okay, so if we're gonna go with this, like, historical, oh, my ancestors built it, so I deserve it. Okay, well then, black people deserve it all. Wow. Wow, if you're gonna use that line of logic, then you know, you're not gonna win that one, buddy. Okay, alright, pal.
Country that you
My
guys
white
built for us, what
brother.
our ancestors built. My ancestors all the way back in the day, they helped build the railroads that went across this whole entire country. They were in the middle.
Your ancestors are fucking anchor baby having immigrant foreigners. Okay, that's what they fucking are. Ellis Islanders. My family came here on the fucking Mayflower, dude. Get the fuck out of my country. Get out.
Military way back. I have family going all the way back to the Revolutionary War. You know, it's stuff like that.
Lies. Lies. You said in a previous video you were an Ellis Islander. Shut the fuck
The
up.
factories. That was my family. I am entitled to the things that they built for us in the future. Isn't that what the older generations always say? We want to make this a better country for our children. Our children are our future. So why do they?
Fuck no. Yeah, they say that shit. They don't fucking mean it. When they say that, what they mean is, I want my children to bend over backwards for me. And I want to keep my house. And, I want my children to just, like, sit and do nothing and look pretty. Yep. Just, wait on me, hand over foot.
They turn their backs on us and, you know, pull the ladder up. That's one of the reasons that they're so radicalized in the first place. Let's look at this as well, like the demographic reality. You know, you can't say you can't say the term on YouTube, the replacement, the big one. It's not a theory. It used to be called, oh, that's just a conspiracy theory. If you Google it, they'll probably say it's a theory. But it's true. It's mostly because it's easier to pay slave wages. It's the biggest reason why to a bunch of foreigners. They don't have to give these people health insurance, or they can make it really bad. They don't have to pay them a 401k. They don't have to pay them a wage.
So you admit that it's not to replace white people, it is to exploit brown people. Wow. Wow, but yet they're still replacing us? Really? Really? That's the goal? Why? Why do you think that? You're literally saying here, oh yeah, they have them, they're importing brown people to exploit them for their labor. Because it's easy. And it's, and the conditions at which it makes it easy is, of course, manufactured by the grand liberal design. Okay, what? So, okay. So that they're not trying to replace white people. They just want a cheap, exploitable immigrant underclass. Just like your ancestors, the Ellis Islanders. Right? They came over here and worked in the factories, bro. Just like them.
An American would ask for. That's one of the big reasons we are even being replaced in the first place. It's part of the technocrat takeover. Go watch my video on that.
Jimmy, you are Italian, right? I can smell the Italian on you, bro.
You have a lot of content there. But anyways, this isn't a theory to people who are looking at their neighborhoods that are changing. It's not a theory to people that are seeing their school districts turning. It's like, I went to school. This was all white kids. Now I go and there's like a bunch of foreigners. It's just realizing that they are being systematically displaced in their own homeland. There's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to protect your own homeland. The fact that we even have to say this sort of stuff, like, it's not wrong to say this. It's absolutely insane. We live in an inverted reality right now. It's absolutely shocking. But anyways, there's also the cultural nihilism. That's a big factor in here. There's the dissolution of the family. There's the hatred of the objective truth. There's a blatant contempt for Christianity as well. It's left young white men with nothing to lose. They can't afford shit. Feminism, leftism, it's gone absolutely out of control. We're controlled by a different country.
Feminazis.
On top of that, we can't even afford shit. We just want to play video games sometimes and all that's fucked up. And everything's woke now. Everything's a DEI woke game. Not to get too mainstream conservative with what I'm saying.
Yeah, DEI. Why is everything expensive? Why is that? Oh, that's right. It's because corporations keep raising prices and wages have stagnated for 40 fucking years.
Look, it's just like, okay, when I hear that, my brain kind of turns off. It's like, yeah, we already know, man, thanks. But anyways, the system offers nothing but degradation and shame. Men start naturally looking for tradition or even a movement that offers them a sense of identity, offers them a sense of purpose, and it even offers them a sense of family, right? So it doesn't really shock me that these groups are growing so much and this sort of thing is happening. This rise of Gen Z nationalism is actually a rational response to an irrational, suicidal culture. They're not just rising up because it's hip right now. It's so cool. It's a hobby. No, it's not like that. They're actually reacting to the observable fact that our civilization is being
yes you're so close, man. You really are. So close but so far. Yes, right-wing movements are a result of poor material conditions. When young people can't afford a home, that's a problem. Okay, and people, not just young people, but lots of people start gravitating towards right-wing extremism. Wow, I can't believe that.
Anyways, that's my thoughts of Patriot Front. I don't really have positive or negative. I see all points of view, and I simply just don't think they're feds. You could make an argument that they're controlled opposition, and I do think it's a little bit risky, but ultimately I don't have anything against it.
Risky.
So I would be upset if they all got hit with some sort of criminal charges,
I think
charge, and then everybody's going down.
Wrong too.
That's one of the things. That's why I say I like to decentralize stuff more. But anyways, guys, hope you appreciate the new mic I have for this video. If you like this sort of content, press the subscribe button. I really appreciate it. Go ahead, follow me on Rumble and Twitter.
Yeah, I'm not doing any of that shit. That video fucking sucks. This video was garbage, and I hate you.